right? So, for example, right now, they cancelled they didn't cancel, they postponed the Mama 2021
Did
award.
they?
Yeah.
How did I not know this? How did I not know this?
And the reason they did this is because, so the Mamas were partly sponsored by the Ministry of Tourism.
Right.
And before the awards, so the awards was supposed to happen on the 20th.
20th, yeah.
And before the awards, on Twitter, the ministry and MTV and, a bunch of those other artists, including DJ Khaled, were moving the Visit Uganda hashtag, I think as part of their sponsorship deal, right? But this hashtag was hijacked by People Power supporters because, MTV couldn't acknowledge that there was a lot of violence in the elections, right?
Right.
Yeah. And, this went on back and forth. A lot of international activists became part. And then what happened is the MTV decided to push the award, right? I mean, which for me I prefer, by the way, again, because I feel like if it was the Oscars, for example, the Americans would go to the Oscars, but they would speak about, Me Too. They would speak about the injustices. If you want to sanitize, this is what we called it. If you want to sanitize the Ugandan image by pushing, the positive stuff out of Uganda, it's just unfair to do that in a period where, there's a lot of injustice going on, where people are literally being kidnapped off the street and put in bans and stuff like that, and people are being tortured, shit, that's of Idi Amin, if you're doing that stuff, people were saying, it's okay, MTV can come and do this, as long as, maybe DJ Khaled will take a few seconds to acknowledge that there's actually some terrible shit going down. But, again, this is hard to do if if the ministry itself is the one sponsoring the event. So I think MTV and the ministry failed to agree on what is decent. I'm sure MTV was willing to push the award forward and just make a few random mentions here and there. But I'm sure they failed to agree, so they postponed it indefinitely. And actually, the conversation I was even going to is the independence of the artists, right? So there have been a couple of artists who have been crying a lot on Twitter that because of the lockdown, they're broke.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a good opportunity. First of all, because they had deals to perform, and also there's a chance for discovery, right?
Yeah.
We should sort of ignore the.
But this is the interesting thing that has happened in you get okay. So for instance, there was an American producer who had been known to do some dodgy stuff, and he still won an award on the year that he was in court, right? And there are other anyway, I'm shocked because I didn't know, so let me take a moment to be like, okay, the mamas are gone for now. But the interesting thing that is happening in Uganda is that music and politics are mixing. And they're mixing a lot.
Oh, mixing is not the right tense.
Do you know what I mean?
They have been part and parcel forever. Yeah.
And so you've got, especially not only just with Bobby Warren, but you've got Chameleon, you've got Raga D, you've got all of these musicians that are now politicians, right?
Yeah.
And so then the musical stage, whereas in other countries there's there's musicians that do things about the government and whatever, yes, but it's not so integrated, right? Yeah. So even if something big like Trump did something, because Trump was Trump, right, did something messed, it wouldn't stop the Grammys because they wouldn't acknowledge that Trump did something messed, because there is
the thing is the Grammys would acknowledge that, and this again
the
from
American
from the that's what I'm saying. No, exactly. So I know what you mean.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's
so you would never get the Grammys making an official statement on anything.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
You would never get MTV making an official statement on anything. The artists would accept their awards and then be like, you know what, me too. Or they would accept their awards and say,
I see what you mean.
Kendrick Lamar performed and he made a big statement.
I see.
But
Okay.
the institution itself was never, because the two don't mix.
I see what you mean.
Right?
First of all, Kanye West contested for president, but that's a
Truth.
conversation for that time.
Truth.
Okay, yeah, but here's the thing again, right? The theme for the mamas, because of the deal they had with the sponsor, was to show Uganda in a good light, yeah, which directly contradict the fact that if, for example, today, say say Nike, right? Say news came out that Nike has been enforcing, so discrimination or whatever, something political like that, something political and, something that contradicts what we consider to be decent, acceptable human rights, right? If it did that, and Nike was sponsoring the Grammys, first of all, this happened to Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart was, you say they don't come out to say something official. Kevin Hart did not host the Oscars because of some tweets that he posted before that, sat on the right political side of other people, right? And even if Kevin Hart said, I've since changed my views on this, I forget what they were, but yeah, blah, blah, blah. But what happens, again, it's not an official statement from the Oscars, but Oscars are clearly taking a stand that, we are not going to associate ourselves with anyone who does this kind of shit, And if MTV had stood up to say, we are going to associate ourselves with Uganda, with the Ugandan government, even if we know the state is literally murdering people, yeah, I don't know. I feel like that is something that is.
I think it's. Sometimes the people, we stop things that could really help us. No, let me go to the end of the sentence. What I'm trying to say is that if those awards went on, there is no way that no artist would not talk about what was going on.
I agree.
The message would have gotten out. You get what I'm saying? Right? But also people would have gotten paid unless they stopped the broadcast. And, I've seen things that I've never seen before, like the internet turning off, so they could have stopped the broadcast. But I'm just saying that I don't think that there would be artists accepting awards and being like,
yeah, we don't know.
Right? We don't know. I see. So in a certain way, I'm like, it's good that if MTV was like, okay, we're not going to make a stand on this because we don't agree with the government, so we're leaving, that's cool, right? If they were trying to get a political stance, I don't know, like if it was because this campaign went and hijacked the hashtag, it would have been, that would have been a message to the world. Like that's, the problem is that stuff has stopped going out. The news has stopped going out. That would have been news to the whole world. So as much as